Ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of Arlo Maverick. I'm a man of many hats who just happens to rap. And today is the continuation of a previous vlog that I just released in regards to planning to create an album. In this vlog here, what I wanted to do is talk about budgets, but at the same time talk about the team that you have to assemble to create your album. Let's start off with the producer. The producer is usually going to be someone who's going to come aboard and work with you in the studio in order to get the add production value to the songs that you already have. With hip hop, there's always that discussion of beat maker versus producer. With some artists, you'll already have your beats already produced by the producers. You'll pay the producer their fee, and you'll take your beats and you'll go to the studio. Now, if you're working with the producer in the sense of having them work with you in the sense of creating something, then during the pre-production phase, what you'll do is that you'll probably have rough recordings that you'll create that will possibly be scratch vocals that will be demoed in order for the producer to create the music around it, and then based off of what they're hearing, they're able to create that music around you. Now, it's very important for you to find a producer that fits what you're trying to do, finding a producer that actually understands your vision. And as I mentioned in one of my previous vlogs, already having an in-house producer is usually the best thing, in the sense that someone who actually understands you. You've had time to grow with that person. They're essentially there with you from the writing phase of the project to the recording phase of the project, which allows the music to be more cohesive and also be more in line with what you're trying to create. Another item that you're going to want to factor into your budget is going to be your recording facility, and this recording facility will most likely come with an engineer worked into the price. Now, you want to make sure that you are working with someone who understands what you're doing, someone who gets what you're doing, because yes, they are tracking your stuff, but at the same time though, that person there is kind of working much like the producer in the sense of getting the best out of you. If a person tracking your vocals is just tracking for the sake of tracking and they're not necessarily working as a producer at the same time, then they may not be able to get the best out of you. One of the things that people often compliment Dr. Dre on is the fact that Dr. Dre is not just someone who's going to record your vocals. He's going to get you to try certain things that he feels is going to better the track itself, and also just bring out something in you that you may not even be aware was in you to begin with, because of the fact that he has a great ear. One thing about music is all about your ears, and having a mix engineer who understands the sound that you're trying to create, but at the same time they also have a great ear and they've worked on plenty of projects, allows them to bring out the best in you and allow you to achieve the best product that you're trying to create. Now, if they're working in conjunction and working cohesively with your producer, then now you have a product and a project that is the best of your work, where you have two people who are pushing you to get the best out of you. A vital part of the music industry at one point in time was having an A&R, and I think that the role of an A&R is sometimes overlooked because artists feel that they have become A&Rs, or producers feel that they have become A&Rs, so they don't feel that they need a person who is specifically designated to be the A&R. And A&R is basically just stands for artist and repertoire, and they at one point in time were the people who basically worked with the artists to make sure that the album was completed. They essentially were the ones who were working to make sure that the artist had the best producer. So it's like, okay, well, you're looking for this sound here, you know what, let me network, or let me get you the right producers for this track here. Finding the producer, finding the artist, the best engineers, finding the artist, the right session musicians, and all these things that kind of come together in the sense of anything that was needed to get the project done is what an A&R would do, because you need someone who's going to kind of act as an overseer to make sure that the project is moving along, making sure that you're staying on schedule, making sure that you're staying within budget, and someone who allows you to focus on being an artist while you're in that moment. But at the same time though, as I always say, as an artist, you should be actively involved in these things here to make sure that you are a part of any decision that's going to affect you in your career. Another person that you want to have as part of your production team as far as creating an album is possibly an arranger. Now, in hip-hop, you're not really going to find it too much that you'll need an arranger, but if you're a hip-hop artist that actually loves live instrumentation and wants to incorporate it into your sound, then having someone who could actually write out sheet music for the musicians, and also knows how to communicate with the session musicians as they come in. At the end of the day, having someone who's able to communicate with the musicians and transcribe your music to them in order for them to be able to play it makes for an easier process, and also allows you to come off as being far more professional, because you don't want someone coming to the studio and be like, okay, what are we playing? And you're like, you play them the track, because at the end of the day, they can listen listen to it and understand what's being played, but having someone who's designated to create sheet music for them makes the process so much easier. And keep in mind, once you go into the studio, once the clock starts ticking, you're paying for that time. So being as prepared in advance and already having people designated to doing these jobs makes it so much easier on you and your wallet. Now, I just talked about having an arranger. Now, an arranger usually comes into place when you have session musicians, and session musicians are people who come into the studio who have had experience with playing to click tracks. When you're in the studio, it's a totally different vibe than when you're on stage. When you're on stage, you're allowed to be free, you're allowed to kind of do your thing, but when you're in the studio, then you're essentially playing to a click track, trying to create and compose a song. You can obviously bring in other musicians who you think are great musicians and they can play, but if you have someone who understands the protocol of how to actually operate within a studio for a session, then it just makes for a smoother session and allows for you to spend less money at the end of the day. So definitely designating or allocating a certain part of your budget for session musicians is something that will definitely benefit your project and make a better product at the end of the day. Guest vocalists and backup vocalists are another thing that you should be factoring into your budget, and another key element as far as building your team. Do you have songs that you want to do a collaboration with, or do a duet with, or something like that? And are there songs where you need backup vocalists to be part of the song? Because having these people just allows for the music to sound far more richer and sound more lush, and just sound the production value increases when you can have different textures as far as voices adding to the music that's already there. Now, once you've completed the recording and production process of your album, you're going to want to bring in a mastering engineer, and this is going to be someone who you're going to send your music to in order for the album to become mastered. Now, this is someone who you definitely want to factor in. There's been albums that people haven't mastered and put out, and you can tell an album that's been mastered from an album that hasn't been mastered. And it's not about having the loudest sound, it's a matter of creating something that allows for all the songs to have a cohesive feel to it, and bring out certain nuances that are there in the music that mastering gives it that extra push to achieve, but at the same time allowing it to all have a cohesive volume throughout it. And yeah, makes it pleasant for the listener who is listening at the end. Also work with someone who actually understands your genre. A lot of times these things are overlooked, but someone who understands. If you do hip hop, then find someone who actually understands hip hop. If you work with someone who does rock, then understand who does people who understand rock. Much like the whole mix engineer, make sure you find someone who actually understands the genre of music that you make. Music is something that based off of the style of music. If you're working with someone who's never worked with hip hop before, and all of a sudden they feel like, well, yeah, hip hop has to have a lot of bass, and then the bass basically muffles out all your vocals and everything like that, then that person there doesn't understand what they're doing. At least in regards to your genre, that doesn't mean that they don't understand how to mix a rock record or a country record, but they may try to overcompensate in certain areas because they feel that this is what your genre of music typically would have, but it may be completely missing the mark. In closing, I hope that you found this video to be informative. I hope that there was gems that you were able to take from these videos here. And if you like the video, then please click like. And if you have a comment or want to help create the dialogue and the discourse that allows us to throw out as much information as we possibly can and share it with one another, then please place comments below. And if you haven't yet, then please make sure you subscribe to the channel, which is at youtube.com/Arlo Maverick. Every Tuesday and Thursday I post new videos, and as long as there is a need for them, then I'm going to continue to do that. So let me know your thoughts on the videos. Let me know if you're finding them to be informative. Let me know if there's more information you want to know about a subject. Yeah, because I'm doing this in hopes of trying to create more information, exchanges of information, exchanges of dialogue, so that we could all learn from one another. But in closing, I will say that, I guess there's nothing really for me to say then.